The decision announced today by the Parry Corporation is expected to mean that NBN will ultimately again become a listed public company. The company was automatically delisted from the stock exchange in January last year after the Parry Corporation acquired a 100% shareholding. At that time, NBN shares were listed at $6.75. The Parry Corporation first acquired shares in NBN in mid-1981 and then, through a number of transactions, gradually increased its shareholding to the present level of 100%, a move described by NBN's chairman as sound business strategy.
14 months ago, when the Parry Corporation acquired the 100% in NBN, it was a very sound business decision at that time for NBN. And of course, the public was also invited at the time to and offered shares in the Parry Corporation to have a continuing interest in NBN. So that was at the time a very good decision for NBN.
Well, why now offer those shares to the public?
Oh, well, that is of course part of a long-range corporate plan of the Parry Corporation. And this decision is made in line with this long-term plan for our companies. And of course the people of the region will be given the first opportunity again to invest in NBN.
Do you think that people will take up that chance to invest?
And I think there is a great interest in the community to reinvest in NBN. I've been asked the question many times, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a very quick acceptance of this offer when available.
Skier Sandra Johnson won the junior girls for under 14s and now takes her place in the stateside for the upcoming Australian titles. Shortland girl Judy Shasser, who won before, took out the girls' title after competing on invite at Melbourne's Moomba Festival. Although American champion Debbie Anderson did best, Lynn Neville of Sydney won the state title with a fine display. Scott Cromarty of Maitland, part of the Fred Williams ski team, won the junior boys and has earned a Masters rating that means he can now compete at world level. Sydney-sider Dion Ellison won the boys' title after finishing 10th at Moomba, defeating some of the top American and Aussie seniors. John Neville won the men's, Steve Hibbard the over 30s, and Bob Beasley the over 40-year-olds. World Barefoot champion Brett Wing showed his all-round class by taking the open event, the Blue Ribbon Championship at the Carnival.
Awesome, lovely tricky there for Brett Wing.
The Falcons started well and led at quarter time. The second quarter was a disaster for the home side as the Cannons hit form and the Falcons shooting fell away under pressure. They came back with a good third period and the final quarter had the 2,000-odd fans on their toes. The scores were level at full time after a winning chance was lost, ironically by the Falcons' best player Jim Bateman. Level again after 5 minutes, it was back to the boards. And the Falcons wrapped it up in sensational fashion.
Whoops. Struggled through the gap. Johnson, Davies. Yes! That's wrapped it up! The three-pointers wrapped it up. 115 to 107. 25 remains in it. The Canberra boys rally back. They're certainly not going to give it away easy. Give it away now to Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson goes up there. Yes! 107, 117. Good heavens. What a game!
Meanwhile, the Newcastle Hunters who played today had to be content with little luck. They lost by just 1 point in another thriller, bullying Boone for 110 to 1. Fourth in the South-Eastern League before today, the Hunters needed to win, but just didn't make it. Larry Davidson top scored for the Lakers with 27, while former Novocastrian Bill McGee topped for the Boomers with 31.
Dr Metherell met student representatives and members of the college staff for a brief discussion on the transport problem and to explain the opposition's proposals. According to many students, the present transport facilities not only make it a laborious task to get to college or university, but have also led to a shortage of accommodation. And many students say they're unable to attend evening classes because the services only run during shopping hours. However, Dr Metherell believes his proposals will solve the problem.
Well, I'm here today to announce minibus cross-country services to link up the CAE, the university, regional shopping centres and other isolated parts of Newcastle to supplement the existing transport system.
And how different is that going to be from the present system?
Well, at the moment you've got a timetable that first of all doesn't suit students' needs, and secondly you've got a lack of off-peak services both from private operators and the government. Now,
what's your reaction to these proposals?
They sound like a very good start to solving the problem that we've got, especially the cross-country bus services. What we specifically need is services from the Lakes area to the college and to the university, and we need more link-up between the private buses, the rail system and the Urban Transit Authority.
These affidavits have been lodged with the Land and Environment Court. Alderman Geddes says this is a breach of the Local Government Act. Alderman Cummings says her continued opposition to the netball courts is her right as a citizen.
Do you see any conflict of interest in having become part of a public case against your own council?
No, Jim, I don't. As an Australian citizen, I have that right. Alderman Geddes seems to think because he has the numbers, he can deny me that right. I've got the right to a rescission motion. Is he saying that I can't move a rescission motion if I disagree with a council decision, or I can't support a rescission motion? That seems to be what he's saying. And if he's got any, if he has a suggestion, or if he's making accusations that in any way that I've tried to divert the staff from carrying out the wishes of council, or that I've refused to sign documents on the netball courts, let him come out and say it and take the consequences.
Alderman Geddes claims the Local Government Act requires the Lord Mayor to both implement and support council decisions, but he's not yet decided to back his opinion with court action.
The Lord Mayor says that she did uphold the decision. Does the Local Government Act actually say she must support it later on?
Well, she mustn't work against it. She mustn't, in fact, circulate pamphlets indicating that the decision was totally wrong and sign those pamphlets as Lord Mayor. She's also given affidavits which indicate that she doesn't support the decision in court. Now, it's rather unusual for the Chief Executive Officer of the Council to be appearing against the Council in proceedings that have been instituted by a party other than the Council. But the remedy still remains for proceedings to be taken in a court. The court, on the interpretation of the Act, in my view, should uphold what I'm suggesting.
Will you be instigating those proceedings?
I haven't made up my mind at this stage.
Electrification of the rail line from Sydney to Newcastle might be good news for most, but it certainly hasn't been for one Cardiff couple. The Frasers have lived in Marianne Street since 1951, but since work was carried out on the nearby rail line for electrification, they've been swamped twice with dirt, chitter and gravel from the embankment.
When was this? This was
First
over the
time at the end of
anniversary.
January was bad enough. At this time, Mr Fraser's vegetable garden is buried under a metre and a half of chitter. The State Rail Authority is attempting to clean up the mess. But the bitter part of the story is that after the first flood, Mr Fraser actually walked the line with a State Rail Authority official and pointed out what would happen to the embankment if proper attention wasn't given to drainage.
most frustrating when common sense doesn't apply. With the technology that is available to engineers today in drainage, etc., they can't apply it, and yet I can see what's going on, what's going to be the end result.
At Adamstown Heights there was a drainage problem of another kind. These homes were apartment close, built on what was once a natural waterfall. Which then gushed up out of the drain in the street and raced through the homes.
What's the council say? They give an explanation?
No, they seem to think it's just rain pouring from the sky that's causing the problem. They haven't been here, they've arrived about 10 minutes ago, so that they haven't come to see that it's more than that. It's coming back out of the pipes. It's going down the drain pipes from all the area and coming back out of the drain pipes again, building up here in the cul-de-sac and then taking off. Taking fences with it, our gardens, our shrubs, everything we've worked on.
Right through the houses?
Through the houses on the way. It's just devastating. We're losing everything.
Residents believe the drains may be partially blocked by gravel washed down from a former quarry in Astor Street, where a landslip destroyed a house earlier this year.
George Wilson, Cumbrian shepherd, man of tradition, is the British Tourist Authority's latest export to Australia. Mr Wilson comes from the Lakes District in England's northwest, where he runs his family's 9-generation-old sheep farm. For the British Tourist Authority, George Wilson is the traditional British shepherd, the man whose lifestyle exemplifies most people's country bed and breakfast dreams.
I think in the north of England you have one of the best examples of heritage. One tends to think in terms of heritage as buildings and the like, but I would suggest to you that there's more to it than that. And if, for example, you take my type of farming and my way of life, it has indeed changed very little over hundreds and hundreds of years. So that is one of the big attractions if you come to the north of England, to see living heritage.
I understand that your traditions are changing, that perhaps you're giving away to modern times.
No, we really can't give way to modern times. We take advantage of modern technology that comes along. But our farm, like all the others in the district, for example, have no fixed boundaries. The sheep know their own boundaries. So when you rent a farm in our part of the world, you also rent the sheep. They belong to the landlord. Now, the first record we have of this was, in fact, in 1328. So, in fact, it's been going on for very nearly 700 years and is likely to go on for the foreseeable future.
The residents say that the 3-storey 40-unit development will be yet another eyesore on the shoreline. They claim the council should buy the Powercraft Marine site and convert it to a much-needed parkland. Secretary of the Belmont Residents Association, Mr Ivor Irwin, says the area is zoned Residential A, so even the existing building contravenes the code.
We believe it's contrary to the zoning of the land, and in the past zonings haven't meant much. This is Residential A, and look what's been built on it. And zonings ought to mean something, or we shouldn't have zonings.
Late this afternoon, aldermen from the Lake Macquarie Municipal Council inspected the site. The matter is expected to be discussed at the council's next meeting.
It's a long road to the top in most areas of the performing arts, but an even longer one should the art be ballet. Most of these girls practice 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, but only a tiny handful will ever make ballet their profession. So in their training, they need every advantage, and the May seminar is aimed at giving them that. Today, a special class was held by Garth Welsh, a seminar instructor and former principal of the Australian Ballet. Other teachers will be Isabel Anderson, the resident ballet examiner of Australia, General Examiner Valma Briggs, and Deborah Wayne, a former Royal Ballet principal who is travelling from London. The Royal Academy of Dancing, based in London, has run the seminars in Sydney for more than a decade, and Newcastle held its first at the College of Advanced Education last May.
Mr Welsh, what's the aim of the seminar? To help raise the standard of dance in Australia by bringing teachers from all over the world and hopefully the best teachers of Australia to Newcastle for the seminar. So what is the standard of ballet in Australia like? It's always been pretty high. You know, we've had a long history of ballet in Australia, and Australians have filled the ranks as top dancers in companies all over the world. So I think it's been pretty high for a long time, and we're just hoping that it will remain high and get even higher.
Since July last year, ambulance paramedics have operated under a cloud of doubt about their future. At the direction of the Minister for Health, a committee of review was asked to examine closely the function of the paramedic service and to virtually decide if the life-saving potential of this corps of highly trained officers was worth the cost. The conclusion of that committee, which included 2 doctors, is that the paramedic service should definitely be continued. Additional units have also been recommended, one of them for Gosford. For smaller population centres in the Hunter, though, the inquiry decided paramedics could not be justified.
Following
the inquiry also concluded that in some instances paramedics were underutilised by ambulance controllers, but that criticism doesn't seem to apply in Newcastle. In the last 6 weeks alone, paramedics have responded to 561 calls, 139 of those involving cardiac conditions, an area where paramedics have been particularly successful in saving lives. The inquiry has suggested that it should become preferred practice to dispatch a paramedic unit to back up a normal ambulance situation. In most cases that happens in the Newcastle area, even to this industrial accident where the injuries turned out to be nothing worse than severe bruising. In Newcastle there are 17 paramedics, about 5 under the established strength. For the duration of the inquiry, training was suspended. However, the ambulance service has now called for applications for 14 positions on the Advanced Life Support course. The inquiry's conclusions have been generally well received by the ambulance service.
We weren't sure what to expect. We've waited a long time, but I do believe now that it will be well received.
The West End Ballet Group claims it's been trying for 8 months to get local sponsorship to establish Newcastle's own ballet company. But they claim everywhere they go they've been met with indifference, or in the Greater Newcastle Permanent Building Society's case, that it already sponsors a ballet company, the Sydney City Ballet Company. So the dancers uncharacteristically took to the streets today. Tracy Drinkwater says that all the group needs is a chance to prove itself. So they've decided to hold a free concert on Sunday at Civic Park. But what it really needs, she says, is sponsorship.
We are trying very hard to form our own company, and it's very, very hard for us to get any money to start our company if we aren't sponsored in Newcastle here.
The Greater Newcastle Permanent Building Society says it is sponsoring the Sydney City Ballet Company's tour of the Hunter. A spokesman for the society says it was one of 1,000 applications for sponsorship, and it was accepted because of its professional packaged approach. He also said that 12 local dancers would be included in the group for the duration of the tour, and that concessional tickets would be given to the society's members. He said if the West End Ballet Group would care to make a similar application, it would also receive consideration.
The Newcastle City Council, which says it would like a permanent ballet company here, has told the group the same thing. Do your homework and then come and see us.
For some 2 years, the neuropsychiatry unit at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital has been studying the effects of alcohol on the human brain. From countless case studies, it's now concluded that even as few as 2 drinks a day can cause brain damage. The first effects are poor recall of recent complicated information and impaired organisational ability. The implications of this for the business world are particularly sobering.
Well, the business lunch could indeed cause brain damage, and we've seen quite a number of people who have had brain damage caused in this way, and people who are in no way alcoholics. They're perfectly normal Australian business drinkers and have acquired some brain damage. Now, the implications for business obviously are quite serious, because if you have lost your planning and organising ability, well, that's a very important part of your working life.
Is any level of alcohol safe then?
Can't answer that at this point, but if we look at what's been happening to what is considered safe, obviously it may well be that the safe level may be naught. Certainly I've drastically reduced my own drinking in the light of this knowledge, and maybe it will have to go down to nothing, but we can't at this point answer that.